Alright, welcome back to the GT Industries channel, everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to install the radio auxiliary, or this button right here, the radio auxiliary input line for the 2013 to 2019 Ford Police Interceptor Sedan. Now, we had previously done a video, a very quick walkthrough of how we did this. However, due to a comment from John Hernandez wanting an additional video, a step-by-step, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a step-by-step video of how exactly you go from not having any auxiliary functions working on your radio to having a auxiliary line that goes into your vehicle, into the radio, and allows you to input audio to the radio. Now you'll see that I have this cable here. This is not how it's actually going to look in the end. I'm just not entirely sure if I want to put it on the panel that goes right here or not. So we'll see what we end up doing with that. So we're going to attack this from a couple different angles, and I want you guys to know that we're going to start off in the under dash area of the driver's side footwell. The reason we do this is because the entire dashboard is taken apart from this panel up and across, and from one piece over there back towards this direction. So you can't actually get the radio out just by itself in the center. You do have to take the rest of the dashboard apart. And as you can see, I also have a center console in here from Havas. That has to come out as well, or at least be moved back. Now mine, I can't take it completely out, but I can move it back just due to the sheer amount of wires that were left in this vehicle. I'll show you guys that real quick. They left a ton of wires in this particular vehicle. Probably the worst one I've ever seen. And obviously it's very, very dirty. So when we picked this up from the auction place, it was a running, driving vehicle, but had a check engine light and a bunch of other things that need to be done to it before we can sell it. But I wanted to go ahead and kind of let you guys see the whole process from start to finish on this. So I'm recording some of these pieces in different order as I do them. So just keep in mind throughout this video that there may be some cuts, there may be some, not so flowing sections. And we'll get started and start getting this thing ripped out. First thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take the two bolts that are down here, one under here and one under here. We're going to take those two screws, I'm sorry, not bolts, they're screws. We're going to take them out, and I believe they are a 1/4 inch screw or a 7mm screw, depending on your particular sizing of your sockets, whether they're 6 point or 12 point. But yeah, so a 1/4 inch or a 7mm socket should be able to take those out, and then this panel will actually come off, or this whole dash panel down here. So let's go ahead and take those screws out and get the panel off, and then we'll come back. All right, so now that you've got that under dash panel, the kick panel, out, the way you get it out is there's a screw on both sides of the OBD2 port, and then it will just pull straight down like that and pull away from the bottom of the steering column. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this switch out over here. This is your lighting control switch, or your dimmer switch as some people call it. And all you have to do is remove the screw that's down directly underneath here. And once you've removed that screw, it's a little difficult to do with one hand, but you can just pull it straight out. And now that it has been pulled straight out, now we can go ahead and work on the other side and then get the gauge cluster bezel pulled out of there as well. It's a little tricky to get this piece out because it has tabs that go behind this trim piece here. And normally you would want to take the trim piece out before, like this ignition trim piece out, before you took this out. The problem with my vehicle is, though, and I'm sure this is the same way with the rest of them, because of my Havas console, I can't get the centerpiece out. What I do is I just pull outward. You can see I've got the tabs there, and then I just pull up a little. You'll see the ignition kind of popped out just a little bit, and work your way around. It's a little difficult to do with one hand. See if I can get my finger in here. There we go. I've got all the tabs out of there, and just pull straight out. Oh. See if I can get this actually out of here. There we go. All right, so it's a little difficult, but you can see that I was able to get it out. And the dash, the dash bezel did come with it a little bit. So I'm just gonna pop that back in because I've already gone ahead and taken out most of the screws for this entire video and put it back together so you guys can see. But normally that wouldn't happen because normally there is a screw right here that you guys can take out. And with it being in there, your trim bezel won't come with it when you try to pull that trim piece off. But in order to get the bezel itself out, what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your key, you're gonna put it in, turn it to the on position. Apparently the radio was on. And you're going to adjust the steering wheel all the way down. Now you can see it's all the way down. You're gonna lock it back in place. And then you're gonna adjust the gear selector and you're gonna put it all the way down and drive. Now, obviously the engine is not on, so I've got my foot on the brake to hold the vehicle in place, as well as it's going to give you a couple error warnings on the dashboard when you do that. You can ignore those, but all you have to do now is come over to this side over here, put your finger up behind here, and give a good pop, just like that. Same thing on the other side. If you have already taken that screw out right here, you should be able to just kind of pry out. If I can get my hand back here. There we go. And then you'll see up here, there are some tabs, one right here and an additional tab over here. What I do for that is I push down on it. That's why we dropped the steering column, so we had enough room at the bottom here. So even though it's sitting on top of the steering column, we should be able to kind of finagle this out. All right, there's one. And two. All right. Now that whole piece can come out. You can put it over in your passenger side floorboard and we can move on to the remainder of the things. And you can see here where I was telling you there are screws back here holding everything in. Now that we've got some of this out, I can go ahead and put this back in park, put the steering column back to the upright position, and turn the key off and pull it out. Now, I'm going to work on off camera getting this Havas console out of here. Your console may be slightly different, but for the most part, they're all the same. There are 2 bolts up in the front area, and you can't see mine right now because of all the wires. And there are 2 bolts down here, one right there and one right there. So you can see those are 8mm. And then there's 2 additional ones back here along that flat crossbar, and those are, I believe, 11mm if I remember correctly. Now your sizes may be different, your bolt types may be different. It depends on the console in your vehicle and who installed it. But if you have a console, those are the 3 mounting points that I'm aware of in the Interceptor sedans. So you can remove it by undoing these covers here and then getting at the 2 bolts in the front and 2 bolts in the middle here and 2 bolts in the back area there. Alright, so I've been able to move the Havas console in this vehicle back a couple inches, which is all I really needed to do. So now all I have to do is come in here, and from earlier this was already popped out, but you can see it is popped out on that side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reach under here. I'm going to pull on this with a good solid tug, just like that, and it pops this entire piece out. And then I can finish it by unpopping that. Now all I have to do is disconnect this connector, that connector, and the trunk release connector on the back there, and then that panel will come completely out. Now I need both my hands to do that, so I'm going to do it off camera. So now that that piece is out, we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be pulling out this piece over here, which just requires you to basically come over here and give it a good tug, just like that. I don't know if you heard the piece that was in here that I just had laying in there. I don't know if you heard it fly around or not, but that's what that was. So now I can take that out lay that in the floor. All right, now we've got access to all of these bolts on both sides, but one thing we don't have access to is the bolts that are up here, because there are some bolts across the top there. So what you need to do in order to do that is you actually need to take this centerpiece out here, which is fairly simple to do. It's just hard to get a grip on. And basically what it does is it pulls straight out towards you. The clips are actually along this, pointed towards the windshield. So all you have to do is just kind of get something behind there. Maybe I can do it in the video. Let's see if I can get enough leverage. Maybe a screwdriver will help. There we go. Got one side. And now let's get the other side here. Alright. Sorry, this is a little difficult to do with just one hand. And there we go. Pop that out. And now the whole piece just comes out. And you'll see what I'm talking about. There's the two clips that hold it in when it's like this. So you just have to pull it out this way, and it should come out just fine. Now we have access to the two screws up top. So basically all you're going to do from this point on is you're going to take out this screw, which is a 7mm, that screw, which is a 7mm, this one right here above the ignition cylinder, this one right here on the opposite side, the two screws, one right here and one up behind there, which, yep, right there. Same thing on the other side. You got 1 and 2, and then you're going to take out these two top screws here. Once you've done that, the front assembly will actually pull away from the dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and take out all those screws real quick. So now that you've got all of the bolts or screws or whatever you want to call them out of the frame assembly here, all you have to do, and I guess I should mention this as well, you need to have disconnected the battery before this. You know, you are working with radios, electronics, things that have computers in them, stuff like that. So it is best to go ahead and remove the battery terminal connection on the negative side, just in case. That way you don't trigger anything. But now that you've got this loose, you can simply pop it out, just like that, and then lay it off and over to the side. Personally, I lay it in my floorboard over here. One thing you do want to note is there is a connector right here. You don't want to strain it, so you can go ahead and just push the tab in right there and pull it out, just like so. And there you go. Now you've disconnected that, and that can be moved wherever you need it to. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove this screen up here, which is just going to be a 7mm here, one up there, and one right here, and then a connector on the back side of this. So let's go ahead and remove those screws and pop that out. So all we're going to do after we remove the screws, we're going to pull this out, okay? And there's a connector on the back side of here. It is this connector that is laying right here. And all you do is, when it's in the closed position, well, I can't get it to close because it's not in the actual apparatus, but this little tab on the top here, you push that down. There we go. So you push that down right there, and then push this lever over and it'll come out. Now that you've got that out, what you have to do is you have to remove the radio head unit here. This is actually the head unit itself. This is what controls the radio. This is where all the brains for the radio are. Everything is inside of this. This also incorporates the CD player. So this is your actual head unit. The piece we removed just a second ago was just the screen, and then the big face shield thing here, whatever you call it, is the interface, and all of that combines to make your radio. So now we're going to remove the head unit by taking out the screw down here, the screw down here, and then a screw up in there and on the other side, and then this piece will simply pop out and come towards us. After the screws are removed, you can go ahead and just pop this forward. Now, in order to actually get this out, what you're going to need to do, and I don't ever actually take them completely out, But on the back side here, this is where you're going to put in your new connectors, okay? You can actually see my line is running right here. This is my auxiliary input line. So what you do is you press this button or press this tab on the back and pull it out. This is the direction in which you're looking at the connector. So you've got your auxiliary line. I'll put the same two links from the other video in the description as well of where to get that. Now, I got the cheaper one. I think it's on Amazon, and I think it was like $8, something like that. But it came with a white connector on this end, and I had to de-pin that connector, basically take the pins out of it with these wires, and then put the new, throw the white piece away, and put the pinned wires into this connector here, which is what I did. And that was just because it was the cheapest option, and I wanted to see if it would work for the video, so I could go ahead and tell you guys, you know, hey, you can do that too. The other option is, I think, a cable that's twice the price at like $15, and it does not come with the white piece already on it, so you do not have to go through the trouble of repinning. Basically, I'm going to show a on-screen image. Hopefully it's an on-screen image. If not, it's in the description of the schematic I use for this. And to let you guys know, it is looking at the connector from this perspective, just as we are right now, looking at it from head on, as though we were the radio and it was coming to, you know, towards us to get plugged in. So keep that in mind when you're putting the pins in the backside here, that you need to think of it from this angle. That way you're not putting the pins backwards or in the wrong spot or what have you. But once you put those pins in there in the correct spot, based on that schematic, based on that wiring chart, then you know you're good to go. You can run your cable wherever you want. As you can see, I've got mine running over to the passenger side, and then it comes out right there and goes down, and then I'll secure it where I want later. But you got the pins there. I'll show you the back just in case. So you can see the yellow and the gray, or actually that's technically white, I think is what it's supposed to be. And then there's a black and red pair that are together. And then what you probably can't see as well is directly under the white and yellow, there's a black wire that goes, let's see if I can move that. Yeah, there you go. So you can see directly under the yellow there is where that black wire goes in, that's standing by itself. So that's a look from the back side if you're, you know, curious. Maybe you're not so good with wiring diagrams or pinouts, but that's a look from the back side as to where those are supposed to go. And all you have to do now is plug everything back up, screw it all back together, and then I'll show you in Forscan how to actually get the auxiliary function working on your radio. So next, go ahead and put it all back together, and then we'll see you on the computer. All right, how's it going, everybody? So we are back. We are on the computer. I'm going to go ahead and leave the computer microphone turned on so you guys can hear everything that I'm doing in the background as well. But the first thing that we're going to do on the computer side of things, and I do want to preface this by saying I haven't gone over it very much, but you do need a OBD2 adapter to plug into both your vehicle and your laptop. I did link one in the last video. I'll go ahead and link it again in the in this video, in the video description. It is a OBD Link EX, I believe is what it is. And basically it allows you to use Forscan, which is the program we're about to go over, and it allows you to modify the various settings of your vehicle. So make sure that you do go into the description. You do have an OBD Link EX or an L327 scan tool, or anything that they link on the Forscan page, and we'll cover that here in just a second. But the first thing you do want to do whenever you're doing this is you want to get one of those adapters. If you don't have one of those adapters, just keep watching and I'll show you where the list of supported adapters actually are on the Forscan page. But assuming you have those adapters, the first thing the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to forscan.org, okay? And when you go to forscan.org, it's going to take you to their homepage, all right? And basically, you can go through all of this information and you can see exactly what it is they've done update-wise. Now, this isn't technically their homepage. This is just what they have as the, basically if you go to forscan.org, this is where you go. You can click on the home page, or what they call the home page, and it takes you to this page. And this is where you can go through and you can see right here under the supported adapters section here the exact parts or adapters that are capable of utilizing Forscan. So mine is the OBD-Link EX USB. You can also get the OBD-Link MX Bluetooth, and then the other various ones through here work as well. I do have a ELM 327 scan tool, which is this one right here. I've noticed a lot of people have these for, like, you know, detecting trouble codes or various other things. The Bluetooth one and the Wi-Fi version of it don't work that well for me. But I do have a USB version that I have used, and while it does work, I would still recommend purchasing an OBD-Link EX, because I've noticed the drivers for the ELM 327, while they're technically, I believe, the same drivers, there is something different about them that causes Forscan to not recognize the adapter on occasion. And I have had instances in the past where, while I was writing some information, it did that weird driver thing, it disconnected, and I actually bricked a module or had to, you know, completely reflash it with my dealer programming tool, and, you know, just to get it back to where it was. So I would not recommend the ELM 327 tools, at least from my experience. The OBD-Link EX tool is definitely a tool that is on the right, you know, pricing side. It's correct. You know, it is what it is. I believe it's $50 or $60. I think I paid like $35 for mine way back when, but you know, they're not bad for the price. So definitely get one of those. Once you have one of those, or any of the supported ones that you're comfortable using, you can click on the products menu up here, and there's two things that you'll need to do. The first thing is you'll need to download this. So if you click on it, it'll go ahead and it'll start downloading. You'll see up here in the top corner there, it is downloading currently. And the other thing you'll want to do is get your free extended license, okay? Now, there is some information in here you will need from the Forscan program. So once it's done downloading, which you can see up in the top corner there, it is almost done now, but I've already installed it, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys, and there it is. It went ahead and downloaded. Now, whenever you go to this page, what you can do is you can open Forscan, and you can go to, I believe it is the About setting, or it's either the Settings. Okay, yeah, it's the About section down here. Now, I already have my license installed, but here you'll see a hardware ID, and you'll be able to install a license. So once you have the hardware ID from this page in Forscan, you've installed Forscan, you've opened it, you've gone down to this very bottom tab here, that is the About page, or About section. You've copied your hardware ID. You can go back to this form, enter in all of your information, and put your hardware ID right here. Once you have your hardware ID in there, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to submit this, and it will send the information to Forscan. And then you need to make sure that you do put a valid email in here that you have access to, because they will send you the license via email. You can then download the license, go back to your About section in Forscan, upload the license, and you're good to go. The reason you need the license is because the specific function that we're using today is considered an advanced function, because it is as-built data and it is programming. Now, programming, you know, it does require that special license. So in order to do the programming that we're going to do today, though, you have to have that. If you don't, it won't let you do it. So make sure you go get that. But once you are in Forscan, you've got your license and everything installed, you're probably looking at a page similar to this. What you're going to do is you're going to click down here in the bottom left corner, Connect to Vehicle, and you're going to want to make sure that your key is in the ignition, turned to the on position with the engine not running. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And you'll see that now I have my vehicle is in the on position and it is not running. So I'm going to go ahead and click the connect button here. Now I have already saved this vehicle in the past, so this is going to be very quick for me. But if this is your first time using Forscan and you've never saved the profile for your vehicle, then you will need to wait up to, I think it's 2 or 3 minutes, depending on how quickly or not quickly it works. I've had it last as long as 3 minutes before, but I've also had it last as short as 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes on mine so I can go ahead and just pull in all the information real quick. And now that you are ready to go, you'll see down here it says vehicle and ready, and it's all green. Everything's good to go. So we are good to go ahead and start programming. Under the microchip section here, the configuration and programming, you're going to click that, and you're going to click the FCDIM module configuration as built format. You're going to single click that, and then you're going to click the play button in the bottom left corner here. It's going to give you a warning saying that if you make changes, basically you could destroy something. Go ahead and just hit OK on that. And the only option we're going to be changing in here is the 7A50101 option. And you're going to change it to this right here. You're going to go into the FCDIM. You're going to change 7A50101, and you're going to change it to this value here, which is 001-1000-20DF, which I've already done. So you can see 0001, and then 1000, and then 20DF. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and save all. However, I do want to preface ahead of time, before you actually do this change, make sure you save all of this information in its stock configuration. If you've already made this change, go ahead and just stop the program, okay? And then go back up to the top here where it says configuration and programming, and then click on the play button again. Click OK, and as long as you didn't save anything or write anything beforehand, this should all still be your stock stuff, and you can go ahead and just hit save all down here, and that will allow you to save to a specific file as your stock configuration, and you can name it whatever you want. Then change 7A50101 to the 0001-1000-20DF value. Once you've changed that, then I would suggest saving all again and renaming it as the modified version of whatever you saved the first file as, and then you'll want to write all. When you write all, that is what's actually writing to the vehicle. This saving is saving everything to your computer that you're using, so you can have it for backup purposes later if you ever need it. But the write all function, or the write function next to each one of these, is going to allow you to write to the actual vehicle itself. Now, once you've done the write all procedure, it will give you a warning, and it will tell you to cycle the ignition. Go ahead and cycle the ignition, and then you can click stop on the particular instance there. And then once you do that, you should have auxiliary working, and everything should be good to go. If you have any issues or anything, I'll go ahead and link the video that I followed for that particular step in the description as well, just like I did last time. And then you all should have everything set up and ready to go for your auxiliary. You should have your wires in there, you should have everything pinned in, and your auxiliary should be functioning, so you can go ahead and do everything you need to do with that. So this has been another GT Industries video. Thank you guys so much, and look forward to more videos in the future.